behind me is a Rampion Digger. They're laying cables for a wind farm here in Worthing, where I live. And in April, they spent £850,000 on this special Rampion Digger down on the seafront here. And the idea was to dig the trench for the cables to go out to the wind farm, which is just on the horizon. Unfortunately, today you can barely see it. I was up here yesterday and I got a fantastic view of it, but I didn't have my camera. Today it is on the horizon and it's stunning. I'll try and get some shots. Anyway, this Rampion Digger is on a special rails going out as it digs into the sand. I don't know how far they're going to dig, not terribly far. Sadly, this Rampion Digger, £850,000 worth of brand new digger, fell off the rails and sunk into the sand. When the tide came in, it filled the internal cabin with water, and now it's a wreck. It's been here for April, May, June, 3 months, and there's a survey boat out there at the moment, and I guess they're surveying what needs to be done to haul it in. But major cock up is what it is. I live in Worthing, which is down on the south coast. It's in between Brighton and Bognor and Chichester. Littlehampton is also there, right south, and if I was to go any souther, I'd be in France. The beach, as you can see, is a pebbly beach, and the tide goes out a long way, and I believe they used to say that back in, I don't know, the early 20th century and 19th century, they used to play cricket on the beach because when the tide went out, it was flat on the sand. I've lived here for 26 years. I have a house here and I've lived in the same house, and my children, 2 of my children were born in the same house, and so it's all quite special to me. But I do have an odd relationship with Worthing. I do wish that Worthing would maintain its Edwardian, Victorian look. It also has an element of 1930s Art Deco here as well. And the trouble is, the developers these days, they come in with their wonderfully new and newfangled ideas, and they decide they want to modernize everything. And along the seafront, you'll see these monstrous square blocks of residential flats with, I'm sure, terrific views, but very much lacking in design and style. And a lot of those came in the 70s and 80s. Now I think they are beginning to sort of realize that architecture is important for the soul. It's an aesthetic, but it is important for the soul. But when it comes to modern offices or amenities, they have a tendency of destroying what the town was. And I think people go to places because they're beautiful. And if you're going to a Victorian, Edwardian seaside resort, you kind of expect it to be Edwardian and Victorian. You don't expect to see structures that would be better suited in an inner city urban environment. I think the air here is good for the soul. You get the fresh, salty sea air. And the view, when you come down to the beach, for me, one of the splendid things is the great expanse of, well, what is the English Channel, of course. And that great expanse of just being able to see for miles. I love places like the Romney Marshes and the flats in Norfolk, where you have these big skies. And although within inland you've got the South Downs and then you've got the Sussex Weald, you've got the North Downs, and it's a beautiful landscape in Sussex. For me, just being able to look out and see this, the different changes in colour of the sea. The sea changes colour so often, reflected of course by what's going on up in the sky and what's been churned up in the sea itself. And that's one of the joys of living by the sea. I wish the landscape was more dramatic. I wish there were more boulders and rock pools and areas of sand. It is quite repetitive along here with its shingle beach, but we still have fishermen going out in smallish little boats, rowing boats, motorised rowing boats I suppose they are, in trawlers. I don't know what you call the little fishing boats, but they go off and they catch fish and they sell them along the seafront, which is, I mean, I don't eat fish, but I think it's great that that tradition is kept here. So I'm kind of giving an advert for Worthing really. But if you want to come somewhere and just think and just sit and ponder, and many of the beaches away from the pier are quite deserted, you can come and sit and meditate and just reflect on life. And I do that sometimes when I'm writing, I can't get my plots together, or very often when I can't work out where my career is going, I'll come down here and just think.